Hello guys and welcome back into another episode of the Assassin's Creed Discovery Tours. This time I believe we're gonna have a look at the Siege of Alexandria, I believe, with the light wires in the background. So first station is right here, yes, the Siege of Alexandria. This one has 22 stations and it says here at least 20 minutes, so we better start now.
Welcome to the Siege of Alexandria.
And we are on some kind of a... well, it's a market, but obviously, yeah, in a harbor. Close to the harbor. What do we have in here? Oh, this guy is doing actually something. Looks like some kind of ancient bongo. Some carpets and clothes. This guy is selling statues, isn't he? Like the hippo. All of them are nice. Oh, look at that, that's actual jewelry. Well, what's the first station?
Among the collection of writings attributed to Julius Caesar are his descriptions of the Siege of Alexandria, the Gallic Wars, and the commentaries on the Civil War. These archives contain information on different campaigns, the wars of Alexandria, Africa, and Spain. Each of them recounts Caesar's military activity from 58 BCE to 45 BCE. Though Caesar's documents remain a main source of information, it's important to note that the perspective is limited. It is necessary for other historical documents to be taken into consideration to provide a better understanding of events.
So that's that. Now we're still gonna look around a little bit before going on the next one, because the location is... oh, look at those. So the horses. Yeah, this place got everything, isn't it? So I'm sure everything we see here... well, everything probably not, but most of what we see in here is some... oh, that must be something important as well. There must be some kind of tour in there, and of course the famous lighthouse. The probably first true skyscraper ever built. I will be surprised if that wasn't the case. And there is some kind of temple as well, something beautiful. So last time we have been in the palace, which is right over there, of the Cleopatra, and we should definitely go on to the next station. Oh, there's...
The Siege of Alexandria closely relays the events of the Civil War that led up to the event and describes how Caesar was besieged in the palace of the Ptolemies. Other ancient authors have left equally valuable and sometimes contradictory information.
very interesting, isn't it? Yeah. So if you do wonder, apologies, why I have those sticks like you've been there before, that's because I had to restart the recording one time today, because it wasn't doing what it's supposed to do, so I'm just going through the same station doing pretty much the same thing. But you haven't seen those, so I'm gonna just repeat it.
In the events leading up to the Siege of Alexandria, Cleopatra VII and her brother were fighting over control of Egypt. Young King Ptolemy XIII's regent, Pothinus, had firm control over the young pharaoh, and an outmaneuvered Cleopatra soon went into hiding. This set the stage for Pompey's arrival in Alexandria. Having lost his battle against Caesar in 48 BCE, the Roman general turned to his allies, the Egyptians, for safe harbor. But on the advice of Pothinus, Ptolemy XIII had Pompey assassinated in the hopes of earning Caesar's favor. This would turn out to be a most unfortunate decision.
So we're learning quite a lot about the famous story of Pompey and Caesar.
Upon his arrival in Alexandria, Caesar was presented with Pompey's head. The sight of a Roman murdered by Egyptians did not sit well with him. Caesar made his displeasure clear, ordering the return of Cleopatra, and for the siblings to resolve their differences and resume their co-rule of Egypt, as per the will of their father. Neither Pothinus nor Ptolemy XIII wished to accede to this demand. While doing his best to aggravate Caesar, Pothinus secretly plotted against the Roman ruler and sent word for Egyptian general Achilles to bring his 20,000 men to fight on his behalf. While Pothinus plotted against Caesar, Cleopatra made a bold move.
Very interesting statue. It must be Caesar, I guess. So I do believe we cannot actually take a horse in the Discovery tours, so it will require me to run to get to the location. What was the next one? I'm pretty sure somewhere here I'll have to stop. So as you see, inside the city it's very lively, isn't it? The city is definitely alive, and it's quite massive as well in scale. I assume this is one-to-one scale, essentially, in comparison. So next station is somewhere there. I think it may be even easier to climb and go, but you know what? I kind of want to walk the streets, or I should say sprint, because you can see all those shops on the sides and various other things. Tons of military presence as well. Yeah, it's certainly quite far away. It says now 300 meters in there. We don't mind. So what's the next station? But I'm sure there must be a different way how to travel. The next station perhaps I'm just not familiar yet how to do that, because in normal game of course you can just call a horse. That'll be much faster in that case. Not to worry, we'll get there anyway, but at least we're gonna have some beautiful sights. In the meantime we can... Oh, that's a nice garden, I assume. With, yeah, fountain of sorts. It's not blowing water right now, but I'm sure that's what it is. So which way are we supposed to go? Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's towards the palace like last time we did of the Cleopatra. Although, yeah, it must have been, isn't it? Didn't we start right there? We probably did. Yep, guaranteed. Yeah, and there was those statues I was getting distracted with. But this time we're gonna go a slightly different location.
There are various descriptions of the encounter between Caesar and Cleopatra. One report states that she snuck into the palace alone at night. Another account claims she was accompanied by an ally and was brought inside the palace wrapped in a carpet bag. Though exactly what happened at this fateful meeting is up for debate, what is known is that Cleopatra met with Caesar and earned his approval. Pothinus and Ptolemy XIII were most vexed with this turn of events.
Famous story how Cleopatra got in. Essentially, if she entered the city on announced or something like that, essentially they most likely gonna kill her, because her brother was at the power at the time, and of course she was the threat to his power. So she told her slave to wrap her into a carpet. At least that's the legend, and that's how she gets sneaked into the Caesar's presence. Essentially, when the slave bring the carpet, and when he rolled it down, she was inside of it. And at first he was obviously angered by that, but once he looked better at the Cleopatra, he was charmed and gave her a chance to speak her mind. And then that's when she explained to him like she's a sister to current ruler. I can't even pronounce it, ruler. And he wants to kill her, most likely. And yep, she was pretty much instantly replaced in his place. Once she charmed Julius Caesar. So I don't think we've been in this location in here. So this is some kind of the garden of the palace. Also look. Now, how great this looks, isn't it? Even for today's standards, this will be quite a luxury, and certainly something to feast your eyes on. And even quite good comfort, you know. Imagine the only difference we really have now is, let's say, some sort of light, electrical, you know, light installed here and there, maybe some kind of heating. But outside of that, I mean, this will do, you know, for a garden at least, and a patio on the outside. Let's go on next station. This one is taking us apparently back to the palace. So I'm sure this time there'll be a different story to tell. Continuing almost what's going on. Perhaps it's gonna be said what I just said, we'll see. But I kinda wanna know myself what actually happened next after that, because I totally forgot how exactly they got together, really.
With Cleopatra finally present, Caesar chose to act as mediator between the siblings in the hopes of a peaceful resolution. It did not take long for things to sour. During a banquet given to celebrate the reconciliation, there was an assassination attempt on Caesar. It was the Roman leader's own barber who thwarted the attack. Once it was revealed that the king's regent, Pothinus, had ordered the attack, Caesar had him executed. He then placed the young king under guard.
Okay, so this kind of part, I wasn't in the movies, let's put it this way, so that's why I will know about it. I imagine it's slightly different. But this is why we do the tours. This is the actual history, and not the Hollywood version. If you happen not to exactly study this subject, like myself, I studied a lot of history, but not this as much, to be honest. The story of Cleopatra and Julius Caesar. I studied his fights and how he got to power, you know. Which is also very interesting story. Maybe it will be at some point in the game, so I don't want to say too much. But to give him credit, he wasn't no loser or coward. As a very young man, when he still had no power or anything like that, but was still from a prominent family, quite a rich one. He was essentially captured by pirates. Believe it or not, not only did he survive, but he told them like he will hang him later, and he did it. And he was only 16 years old later. Maybe we'll be said in here, we'll see.
Caught within the palace with roughly 4,000 troops, and with the knowledge that the arrival of enemy forces was imminent, Caesar sent for help from Syria, Rhodes, and Cilicia. He ordered his men to dig a ditch around the palace and build a wall leading to the harbor. This would ensure Caesar's access to the sea. When Egyptian General Achilles arrived in the city with 20,000 men, the battle for Alexandria began.
Okay, so this is again a portion of history I didn't know. Oh, this one seems to be not finished, is it? Or is it supposed to be like that? Maybe one of the basic war chariots. Lighthouse always present. Definitely with that kind of tallness back in the day. Apologies, you can see it from any distance, and that was kind of the point of a lighthouse, isn't it? Now, so we've been already here. Yeah, I was once distracted by the beautiful fountain over there. Oh, this is waiting for us. I'm pretty sure. This is only for us, so we can see portion of history. I like this actually. They changed the environment into the events.
With so few men at his disposal, Caesar could not risk a battle just yet. He sent ambassadors to Achilles in the name of Ptolemy to propose a truce. Knowing that the orders did not come from the young king, and angered by the pharaoh's imprisonment, Achilles had the messengers assassinated. With Caesar confined within the palace, Achilles positioned his troops around the city. Skirmishes broke out throughout the streets of Alexandria and went on for several days and nights. Though they were outnumbered, Caesar's men were able to hold the enemy back. This prompted Achilles' next move: capture the Roman fleet stationed in the harbor.
So we can go on to next. Can we push those people out? We can. Okay, get out of my way. Do want to know what's gonna happen next, but oh, okay, well, one of the few bugs you can see now and then. Interesting. Is that a new dentist style? Still doing better than me, that's for sure. I hope I'm going the right way. Seems to be yes, but this one is 368 meters away. Can be still a lovely camel. Not real. The person didn't seem to be happy about it either. I find it odd. I'm sure you must be able to call a travel of sorts. Well, I was trying and now I must have messed up something up. Not even sure how that happened. Apologies. Well, to be fair, I already tried to resolve this before. The first attempt, when I had technical issues the first time. But I couldn't figure it out. I even went to normal game and made sure the button works for calling the horse, but it simply doesn't work on the Discovery tours. So you have to apologize me for taking this time to get to the locations if it's far away. But at least you can enjoy the city. So the station's here, we can talk about the boats.
Although the palace offered protection, losing the port meant the end of help and supplies. Caesar knew he had to protect the fleet. While he and his troops succeeded in regaining control of the port, he knew it would be impossible to sustain. Caesar ordered the burning of the ships. With passage back to the palace closed off, he headed for the lighthouse of Alexandria.
Is it possible? I think we're gonna go to the lighthouse now. Won't mind. Apologies again. Oh yeah, the great time of February, and Storm Chiara blew into my face and now I got sick again.
Fighting their way through the Egyptian troops, Caesar and his men eventually reached Pharos Island. There, they took refuge within the lighthouse. With easy access to the open sea, Caesar was able to send messages to his allies requesting reinforcements and more supplies. The island fort also allowed him to control access to the harbor by relying on the chains used by the Egyptians to control ship traffic to and from Alexandria's docks.
Interesting.
The exact chronology of events during the war in Alexandria remain imprecise. Conflicting accounts raise questions as to when, and even if, the Great Library of Alexandria was burned down at all. One account states that during the fighting, docks and warehouses were burned, and this was the fire that spread to the library. In another account, when Achilles cut off the harbor, Caesar had to leave the safety of the palace to defend his ships. As the enemies battled across the port, their arsenals set ships ablaze, and this destruction spread to the library.
Oh yes, the famous story of the Alexandrian library that contained, let's say, 90% of all the knowledge of the world at the time, and it just burned down, apparently, during this fight, and we lost all of that.
In either case, the Great Library was not completely destroyed. Experts point out that its location was too far from the harbor, and much later texts refer to the Great Library as being intact. Warehouses near the harbor contained manuscript copies awaiting export, and it is more likely that these documents were destroyed than the Great Library itself.
So this will suggest it may not happen, at least not in this way, when the ships start burning first and it spread over. So I actually assume this may have been part of the library, but the actual library is this. So we're looking the wrong way. I guess we'll find out next station. Perhaps we're gonna go there. There's probably a lot more buildings around are still part of the library. Just got distracted by that statue there. And this is probably where the... yeah, definitely part of the library. Look at that, and scholars writing down. That's probably where it starts, the journey about the lighthouse. Well, in the next one, perhaps.
The destruction of the Great Library may have been due to a number of fires over the ages. Its end was probably closer to the 4th century CE, when the Christian Emperor Theodosius I ordered the closure of all pagan temples. While some documents survived after being moved away, it remains unclear just what knowledge may have been lost. Where there are accounts of Achilles being in control of the battle against Caesar, it appears that instead Cleopatra's sister, siding with her brother, had him killed and put her ally Ganymedes in his place. Ganymedes proved a valuable tactician for the Egyptian side. It was his idea to cut Caesar's access to the harbor, thus trapping Caesar at the palace.
Very interested. I just noticed like all of this is definitely part of. It's like a modern university, isn't it? Many buildings combined, and a library is just part of that. But this definitely must be a school of sorts. Let's have a closer look. It certainly is. Now, kids are learning here. A long time before the Middle Ages and in Europe, kids actually even went to the school. Most of the population was really illiterate. Let's go on the next station. It's close by in here.
During the time of Ptolemy I, canals had been dug throughout Alexandria to provide fresh water. Ganymedes had his men take control of these canals. After isolating their own water supply, he had his men pour salt water into the canals and cisterns that led to Caesar's camp.
I think we may be heading towards there. In a way. Although I'm sure there will be a separate tour for lighthouse.
Panic erupted in Caesar's men. They wouldn't last long without fresh water. Recognizing that the porous limestone could help them, Caesar and his men dug wells to restore their water supply. Days later, the 37th Legion, comprised of Pompey's soldiers, arrived by ship. Unable to come ashore due to the winds, Caesar risked going out to meet them on the peninsula, Cape Chersonese. When the enemy learned Caesar's location, they rushed to intercept. Despite an obvious advantage for the Alexandrians, Caesar, with a Rhodian ship full of skillful sailors, emerged victorious.
And once again, Julius Caesar proves himself pretty much as all his life. What's that? Where is it coming from? People losing stuff. Let's look at the palace from this side. And that's where the harbor is, the library. And of course, the lighthouse. There's probably some sort of harbor in there as well, of course, on the coast. Can I borrow your horse? Not really, huh?
With help from the Allied ships, Caesar's victory enabled him to push the Egyptians back and secure the lighthouse. Gaining control of Pharos Island sent the Alexandrians into the sea and swimming back to the city. However, Caesar's fortification of the island didn't last long. The enemy regrouped and were set to storm the island. Panic-stricken, in spite of Caesar's encouragement, many of his men then fled their posts, either by ship or jumping into the sea.
But I'm sure in the end, he must have won, as we know. He was not pushed away, pushed out of the Egypt or Alexandria. Another goddess. A place of worship. Quite nice temple, most likely.
Caesar attempted to retreat, but Port Eunostos' harbor was overrun with enemy ships, preventing escape. Reportedly, Caesar gathered his papers and leapt overboard in an attempt to swim to an Allied ship farther out. Historian Cassius Dio claimed that Caesar would have drowned if he hadn't been able to remove his purple garment. Still, he managed to swim the distance and survive. The Alexandrians recovered the cloak and used it as a trophy to commemorate the Roman debacle.
Perhaps I was wrong. Oh, but I'm pretty sure he must have win in the end somehow, so we can learn about him more. And I think there's a quite nice sunrise coming in. Let's have a look. Can catch it. That was the sunset? Hard to tell. Most likely sunset, so I'll just go next station anyway.
Unhappy with Ganymedes and wanting their king restored, the Alexandrians approached Caesar with a compromise. Caesar agreed to release Ptolemy XIII after entreating him to spare the kingdom and remain loyal to Rome. Once freed, however, the king defied the agreement and continued the war.
Interesting. Seeing that he was betrayed. On top of all.
By this time, a faithful ally of Caesar's, Mithridates, arrived in Egypt, clashing with Ptolemy's troops at Pelusium. Outnumbering the enemy, Mithridates secured the region between Pelusium and Alexandria. Ptolemy, warned of Caesar's ally marching on Alexandria, sent his troops to prevent passage over the river.
So this is what must have happened. Somebody else, a good friend of his, came to the rescue.
Mithridates warned Caesar in time, and the two groups confronted the armies of Ptolemy in the Delta. In the Battle of the Nile, the Romans gained the upper hand, sending the Egyptians fleeing. In the tumult and panic, King Ptolemy XIII drowned in the Nile.
It's quite a good picture. Painting, I should say, isn't it? Okay, we get one more station to go, and then perhaps I may go explore, but probably not, because I'm pretty sure this must be on the tour somewhere. I'm not gonna explore the lighthouse.
After the siege ended, Cleopatra VII married her younger brother, Ptolemy XIV, enabling her to reign over Egypt until 30 BCE. Under her rule, Alexandria settled into its position within the Roman Empire, and eventually surpassed Athens as one of the most important cities in the Roman Empire. Julius Caesar remained in Egypt for a short time. He and Cleopatra would later have a son named Caesarion.
Yeah, there we go. So they had a son, as we already know from the previous Discovery tour. I think that's basically it. Yeah, I'm not gonna go anymore because I'm sure we're gonna have plenty of opportunity at different episodes. So for now, I hope you enjoyed the episode, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.